Welcome back, everybody, to MCOC How Bundy Rules. Here is a first look at the new buff to Falcon that just came out a couple of hours ago. Before I get into the breakdown on the full tutorial, including everything you need to know about this amazing buff, showing you a quick look at what he could do, as you saw, I'm going to start off with the Recon scan lock. So we see the description there, simply dash back, hold block for 1.2 seconds, and you will get a lock on for 14 seconds. That can actually be drastically increased by 40% against science champs, as we will see on the science champs where there are a lot of evades. We will see on there as it goes over, we see the locked on happens, and then we see that red timer up there in the top corner. Keep an eye on that. Again, that timer will be much longer against science champs. It will be about 14 seconds for non-science, and will be about 20% less time for mutant champs. So keep an eye on that. I know when the buff first came out, people were complaining about an 8-second cooldown, but that 8 seconds is very little, and we see it actually pauses during special attacks. So I'm going to show you how quick this 8 seconds goes. Just play passive. You see boom boom, and 8 seconds is up. 8 seconds is nothing. This is still a good time to bait a special maybe, and we see Red Wing, boom, back active, back locked on. That's simple. So he is amazing against evaders. Said 8 second cooldown is absolutely nothing. Super easy just to bait or kind of evade for a few seconds while you waited for it to go, and we see he's back locked on. So I did several bites while getting some of this footage for y'all, and found it extremely simple to keep this locked on against evaders and or to refresh it very quickly. As I mentioned, you see this goes a little bit quicker than the last fight the timer because once again that 40% against science, the class advantage can make a big difference, but still pretty easy even against this Ultron here. This Ultron is on a spry node, so he's trying to constantly evade right there, which is why those crits are going up so quickly. You can see those crits on the top left in the yellow going up. So he's amazing against these evaders and against spry node. Spry node, oh, he's like pretty much going to be a cheat code, and we'll see as you get those criticals up, the damage becomes extremely high. So because each time they passively evade, you see that up there on the top left, every time they passively evade, which this is an evader on a spry node, so that crit damage increase is going up extremely fast. So very easy to get that high. So the higher that gets, the higher the crit damage rating goes. So the regular hits will be the same, but when you crit, so crit teams could be good too, you see that damage get very high. So fast forward, we got 67, crits right now as the fight has gone on. This is a high health Spider-Man out of Act 6-3, if I remember correctly. And we'll see a medium doing 9,000 damage right now. And if this had more health, it will just keep getting higher and higher damage with that crit as they stay there. They don't drop off over time, which isn't a great thing. So those long fights, extremely good. Here's on the spry node right there, as I mentioned, which is where they keep trying to evade based on the nodes. So evade nodes doesn't even have to be an evade champ or a high evade. I'll try to evade some, but not a whole lot normally. But we'll see how quick it's going up because of those high levels from that spry node right there. And again, the higher it goes up, the better it is. So he can be amazing for these long evade fights, these long node fights. There are a lot of evasive nodes and fights, especially in higher levels of the game. Act 6, some of the variants, very common things. So he, from what I'm seeing right now, this is only in R3 5-star, by the way. So what I'm seeing right now is he's pretty much basically almost a cheat code for eBay's, or at least super cheese. Super cheese. Special attacks when locked on gains additional zeroed on effects. So meaning don't do a special attack unless you are locked on is my high recommendation. Why only get a little from a special when you can get a lot? All the specials give you a little bit extra. Here you get a 100% chance for an additional bleed on the special one. So an additional bleed. Why get one bleed when you can get two? Simple enough, right? Here we'll see some more bleeds. How we got the double bleed because he was locked on. Otherwise there would have been one. The more damage we got going, the better. We'll see the file. We'll see the crits increasing as the crit rating damage increases, obviously. And then over here are special too. So we get their physical resistance is reduced, so you get a high attack, and you get higher critical damage rating if you're zeroed in. Once again, pretty good damage there. So you obviously want to be zeroed in when you launch the special 2 to get that higher crit damage, especially with the special 2 giving you that critical ability. Here we'll see some more on Ultron, another nice, good solid S2. Of course, the damage will go up with higher ranked and or higher amounts of critical. Here, this is the best way to get higher levels of damage. It gets a vulnerability buff. This is the best way, especially against non-evading champs. So don't think he's only initially against evade champs. There is this S3 built in for him because you see that he's got incinerate damage, but also vulnerable. So we get a increased critical, as we saw in the description, attack, critical attack against a champ with vulnerable. So as long as our vulnerability is up, and we'll see last for quite a while, I have a much higher level of critical rating damage. So he is still very useful against non-evading champs, non-evade nodes, just mainly more focus on that S3. Otherwise, and you still want to have the locked on as well for those extra bonuses. And again, we'll see that vulnerability and incinerate there as well. If they are an evade champ, you just want to keep getting them to passively fail evade so you can just get that damage up. And at that point, S2 seem to do a lot of damage, along with S1s can give you the bleed. Both will work well there. So some tips using, always do specials when locked on, as I mentioned. Why just get a little bit of a special when you could really get a whole lot? So you want to always do it with locked on. We'll see that little red timer up top, the little ticking down. Do them with locked on. It's very simple to do, and just wait for it to reset if the bar comes up at another time. Tip 2 is keep locked on and avoid attacking evaders during cooldown. Very simple as I showed, so we'll see on the locked on here. That way he can't evade, otherwise Miles can be a pretty tricky guy to hit sometimes. So keep going in there. See, this is the beginning of early part of the fight as those critical rating increased damage are going up, and we'll see the timer is getting ready to expire. So simply just play passive cooldown. This is a great time to bait a special. You see I baited the S2 during this time, so not completely wasting my time waiting those 8 seconds. And then what I'm going to do here is reactivate based on the scanning, and boom, I got it right back up. So nice and simple. Keep it up. And keep it up not only against the evader champs, but all champs, because you get higher crit rating damage, but extremely important against those evaders. S3, focus on S3 if you're not fighting evaders. So don't think you can only use them against evaders. Use them in fights such as this, as we see this Heimdall fight. Just get that S3 going. You're going to get some incinerate, and you're going to get the vulnerability. Once again, your critical rating damage increases with that when they have the vulnerability on, and it lasts for quite a while, as we will see up there on that timer. Again, you could use the S3s too with Evader Champs too if you want it, but very much so important with the non-evaders. So we'll see some of the synergies here. You see most focus on 3% attack for anyone on the synergies for the team, and all champions get the critical damage increase. On some of them are perfect block. You will see all champions in this Nemesis 9% attack rating, the idol, the health and attack rating, and teammates perfect block. So good synergies. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed this first look. Great buff, great champ. Don't forget to subscribe.